See, it's a little slow to go back in, and I want to make sure that that is free to move. This one down here, wow. Oh, did you see that? It was completely stuck.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So today we are working on our 2019 Toyota Highlander. We've got about 70,000 miles on it. In a previous video, you've seen that we've bled the brake system, but we're actually going to go ahead and do that again today because we are going to also replace the front rotors with some Brembo front rotors. And then we picked up a set of Akebono brake pads for both front and rear. We're going to show you how to do all of that today.
Okay, so we've removed our wheel and we've set it off to the side. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our 14 millimeter wrench and we're going to remove the pins that hold the caliper. There's one there and there's one there. So we're going to remove those, and then that'll allow us to pull the caliper straight off the back rotor. Now we are not going to replace the back rotor on the Highlander. This one has not been machined before, and there's no grooves or anything like that. On the front, when we move to the front, you'll see that we are going to replace that one with those Brembos, and the reason why is we've actually already had that one machined once. Torque spec on that is about 25 foot-pounds. I'll put all of that in the description below. We're just going to take that bolt out, we're going to set it aside. Do the same thing with the one on the lower side. And as you're loosening that, you're going to hold on to the caliper itself. And then the whole assembly is going to lift off. Now, we're going to be careful because there's a brake line that is attached, and we don't want to get that kinked. And so we're going to take that, and we're going to spin it around, and we're going to set it on top of the brake rotor. We're just going to have it sit right there. We're not kinking anything that you see there. And these are our pads, one here and there's one on the other side. Those come out this way, and then on the other side they come out that way. So we'll pop those out. All right, so let's take a look at the pad. So there's the pad. This is the wear indicator. You can see we're pretty close to the bottom. Let's compare that to the new one. You can see the difference is significant. So in the kit, there are new wear indicators. The shims are already installed on these, but there are new wear indicators. We're going to go ahead and put those on and then replace. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make reference of where this one is on the pad. You can see that the way that this is arced, it's going to sit this way. So that tells me that the wear indicator needs to go toward the bottom. And so I'm going to take the new brake pad. I'm going to take the new wear indicator from the kit. I'm going to clip it on that spot. There we are. Another nice thing about the kit is it comes with brand new shims that you see right here. I'm going to go ahead and pop those off and put new ones on. I'll just take my screwdriver. I'll do them one at a time. And I'm being careful not to scratch that. So I need this one to replace. Now you could take the bracket off and install these and then put the bracket back on, but we're going to try to avoid that step here. Okay, so what I also want to do is I want to check the function here. You can see when I pull on this pin, and what it does is obviously the caliper slides. See, it's a little slow to go back in, and I want to make sure that that is free to move. This one down here, wow, oh, did you see that? It was completely stuck. And that might be some of the reason why the inside of the pad is actually wearing a little bit faster than the outside of the pad. We're going to rotate the pin. We're checking the boot to make sure there's no tears or anything like that. We're going to rotate this pin, and we're going to slide it out, and we're going to re-grease that pin. There it comes. The bottom one was the one that really needed it, so take that right on out. There we go. Take note of how small the amount of grease is that's on there. And there's also a little retainer right here, so whenever I put this back in, I'm going to twist it until it sets itself back in. You don't want it to stand straight out like that, or you're going to have problems with it rubbing. Okay, so I've got it cleaned off. I'm going to put just a little bit on there. If you have too much on there, it's not going to seat correctly. Just about that much. All right, back in it goes. And remember, I'm going to twist it as I put it in. There we go. All the way in. Make sure that it's seated correctly. Good. Now let's try it. See that how it holds out like that? That's not correct. I want to turn that to where it actually will pull itself back in just like that. There we go. See? Much better, I can already tell. No issues with that boot there. Let's do this lower one that was stuck. I'm interested to see how bad that one was. Boot, there's nothing wrong with that boot there. Just going to hold on to that as I back that pin out. It has a fair amount of grease actually on it. A little surprised. There it is, look at that. Fixed it. Exactly what we're looking for. Okay, let's put the brake pads back on, and then the caliper back on, tighten it down to spec, and move on to the next one.
Okay, so now that we've got our brake pads installed here, we're going to inspect the boot. I don't see any tears at all in this boot. What we need to do now is compress this boot, and we're going to take our old pad, set it in there. We've got a C-clamp. Just take it, attach it there, and then turn it until it's flush. Now let's put the caliper back on. We'll tighten to 25 foot-pounds for the caliper pin. Okay, so we've got our pneumatic brake bleeder, and I'll send a link down below to show you if you want to get one of these for yourself. Rather than us trying the manual pump that we did in a previous video, I figured, you know what, let's try this one and see how much easier it is. You hook it up to your compressor, and then what it does is it creates a vacuum, and of course the vacuum is what we're going to put on the bleeder screw here. Up by the brake master cylinder, it actually comes with a container that you invert, and you put the nozzle down into the brake fluid, and whenever it touches the brake fluid, it equalizes. And then as we pull the old fluid through, it will then deplete what I have loaded into the bottle and then stop whenever the level equalizes. And I'll show you that here in just a second. So let's try this. What we'll do is we'll turn this machine on and then open the bleeder screw. And once we have this on, fits on that really tight. All right, here we go. I'm going to open the valve. And those bubbles are normal. It's because it's not 100% airtight where that joint is, but you can see it's pulling it right out. Wow, that is so much easier. Okay, so we've got everything laid out. On this one, we're going to show you a different way, and it's actually a little bit simpler than what we showed you there on the back rotor. And then obviously when we're done here, we're going to repeat the same process on the other side of the car, and it's exactly the same process. Now, what we need to do, not only do we want to take off the caliper, we need to take off the caliper bracket because we're going to replace this rotor with a new Brembo rotor. So what we need to do is we need to use our wrench, and that is a 17 millimeter wrench back here to get the bracket off. But we're going to first start by removing the caliper. Remember, that was a 14 millimeter. So we're going to go ahead and get those caliper bolts off. Okay, caliper bolts are off. I'm going to slide it out. All right, then I'm going to rotate it up, and I'm going to set it right up here for now. Got my bungee cord. Now I'm going to suspend that here in just a moment as soon as we're done compressing the pad. So let's take the pads out. I'm going to compress with one hand, and carefully I'm going to pull these out. Stuck in there pretty good. There we go, got one. There's another. You want to replace these, and the Akebono kit comes with those. Okay, got that out. And take out this front pad. Lots of brake dust. Let's take a look at that one. You can see it's pretty worn. Substantially different. So what I've done off camera is I've noticed that here's where the wear indicator is, and I've located the wear indicator on this one. I'm going to match up the pad, and then I'll just snap it on here before we put it in, like that. Now remember, when we use the C-clamp, we're going to go very slow, and we're going to make sure that the rubber surround here out surrounding the piston does not get torn or pinched. We're going to go slow. And since this is a twin piston, we may have to do a little bit on one side, more on the other. Let's take a look. I'll leave a link in the description for a piston spreader for you too if you don't want to use a C-clamp. Okay, I'm going to suspend this by the strut at the top, just so whenever I take off the rotor, this is not just hanging on its own. Put one there. I'll go around the top up here. This isn't pretty heavy. There we go. Suspend it out of the way. I'm going to take this off. I've loosened it up off camera. The torque spec on this is about 90. Or excuse me, 80. There's one. There we are. Take the other brake pad out. Let's take a look at our pistons. Our pin. This one is locked up. It doesn't move. This one the same way. So we're going to do just like we did in the back. We're going to get this one out. We're going to re-lubricate it. Wow, it's really in there. I'm just pulling back on this rubber boot to get it away from that bolt. I'm going to go ahead and take my 17 millimeter wrench. I'm going to spin that around. See if I can get it to come free. There we go. Wow. All right, so I took it, pull it out. As I'm twisting it, there we go, came out. Obviously, you can see that grease in there. Very, very dirty, and that's likely the reason why it was completely stuck. I'm going to wipe all that off. Back with a little bit of the brake parts lubricant. Back in we go. When I'm pushing it in, I'm twisting. Pushing all the way down. That boot pops right back over there. It's perfect now. Nice and smooth. Yeah, that was really bad. Let's try this one. Yeah, that one doesn't even move at all. Obviously, it's time for a brake service. Glad we're doing it. And these slide pins are, whenever you press the brake, that's what pushes the piston against the caliper and the rotor. All right, that one came out. Oh, same story. Extremely dirty. All of that. Now with some more brake lube. Oop, that's way too much. Need about a half of that. So I'm going to just do what I need here, then I'll wipe the rest off. Back in we go. Okay, got it. Now it moves. Good shape. Okay, now we need to get the rotor off. So a lot of times folks will try to hit from back here because it has rusted right through here and it really stuck on. You just hit it with your hand and it doesn't come out. Here's the way that you can address that. You can get an M8 bolt, and I'll put the specific specs for this bolt down in the description. These are found all through over the car. I actually went and picked this one up at one of our local stores. This is threaded, that's threaded. So what we're going to do, we're just going to put it in there, and we're going to get our wrench. As we crank that, that's going to pop it right off. See that? Okay, rotor's off. I'm going to take just a minute, try to make sure there's no rust that's really impeding it from sitting flush, and there is not. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of this grease, just a little bit. Make it a little easier next time. Those need to come off. I'm going to wipe that in there. Don't know if that's going to help or not, but we'll try it anyway. Okay, now what we're going to do is put the Brembo on. Now what I've done is I've taken the Brembo out of the package and I've sprayed it with brake clean all around both sides. So now let's set it in there, and then we reassemble just exactly the opposite of what we just took apart. There we go. This is the Brembo. These are very heavy. You can tell they're coated and treated, so they should last a long time. It's back on with our caliper bracket. Okay, brake pads on. I'm going to put just a little bit of this brake lubricant just on the edge here. There it goes. All right. There we go. Let's put our pins in. Squeezing those brake pads in while I slide this caliper on. It's pretty difficult. There. Everything's in. All right, we'll torque everything to spec off camera. 25 on the pin bolts and about 75 to 79 or 80 right there on the caliper bracket. Sometimes whenever you are tightening these caliper pins, they spin, and so you need something that's a very thin wrench, and this actually works really well. This crescent wrench fits just perfect in there. That way it holds the back of that while I'm tightening it. And of course, I'll check the torque spec here in just a moment. I'm going to take off the rubber grommet, place that there, and then I'm going to turn the valve here as I open that bleeder. and then the compressor will kick on in the background, and it will start evacuating it into that container. Okay, so let me show you how we have this set up. So this is the bottle I was telling you about. And what you do is you fill this bottle up with your brake fluid, and it has a valve right here, on and off. And what happens is it sticks down there to the max fill line. You clamp it on, and when you open the valve, it will equalize the brake fluid in here to what's in the master cylinder. This is actually a remote master cylinder. And so as I'm drawing out through each one of the brakes, this is constantly refilling to the proper level, and it does not run out. So I don't have to continue to come up and check to make sure that I'm out of fluid. Pretty slick, and I'll tell you what, it is so much easier than using a hand pump whenever you're trying to do your own brake flush. Well, that about wraps it up. We're going to finish it up, do the other side of the car, and then we'll wrap up the video. All right, and just like that, we are done. Listen, at the dealer, this is probably well over $1,000 in order to get this done. For us, we're under a few $100s. We did it all. We know that it's going to work well. Be careful when you do it. Make sure that you're using your safety precautions. Just take your time. You're going to do just fine. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. We'll see you again on the next one.